Welcome everybody to a new episode of Flower Circus Talks. Today a very special episode. We're going to talk about quality, because did you know that at least 20% of the flowers is the quality of the flowers is unacceptable due to systematic underperformance across the chain, and there are dozens of areas of inefficiency, from poor packaging and gaps in the cold chain causing increased and heat exposure, to poor post-harvest practices at the farm. And who knows better about all those things than Jeroen van Hulst from Flower Watch, the founder and owner of Flower Watch. So it's all about quality today. So let's quickly get him into the live stream. Jeroen, welcome.
Hey, Sean, good afternoon.
Is it the first question before you can introduce more? Is it really 20% of all the flowers?
According to our own research, that might be a best case scenario.
Wow.
There is, well, let's say this as you go around markets and take samples.
Yeah.
There are some that do much better, but there is cases where we've seen much worse. I have some, what I've prepared the slides, I have some insight there.
Yeah.
But hey, I believe we can sort it out. And I think that's the really nice message.
Yeah, I mean that's the great thing. You can sort it out, and with your company, I see you're between the flowers. Looks beautiful, but
this is our test center in Roelvaardersveen. We have a similar setup in Nairobi, Kenya. And what you see here is flowers that we have taken from online markets, from supermarkets, directly from farm. And we have a few research tests running here too.
Okay, so you really got everything going there. It's in where you are now is Roelvaardersveen, so it's between all the big auctions in Holland and the big production areas as well.
Yeah.
So can you tell me a bit how did this all started? Your how should we call it, your crusade for better quality flowers?
Yeah, worthwhile question. No, I've grown up here in Roelvaardersveen, and it's a very traditional flower growing village. We're known for tulip production, summer flowers. I think in the 90s there are 15, 20 rose farms here. Yeah. And that's what happens. You're young, you want to make some money and buy your own bicycle, motorbike, impress your girlfriend. So you get a job on a flower farm. And I've first jobs doing chrysanthemum cuttings was at age 11, and then at age 14, 15, you get your job at a rose farm.
Yeah.
I think even after my studies, I continued working at the rose farm. It's my second home. I've grown up there.
Okay.
And, you have a big, I think also all of my friends from my football team, out of 16, 11 have ended up in flower business. So this is what we love in this place, and this is where also my career started. I started chemistry.
Yeah.
Then, got a job at a laboratory, an official boring laboratory with glasses and a white coat, and I was bored to death. I fell asleep. So I got here to Florist, which was a local, at that time, competitor of Chrysal, post-harvest treatments. And that was fun because it was laboratory what I studied, and it was working on quality. And I think already at that time we started traveling to East Africa, to Kenya, to Zimbabwe, and later on Zambia, Tanzania, Uganda. And I think from that company Florissant, I moved towards TFA, that was Teleflower auction.
Yeah.
Already with this passion for quality, passion for flower business, I was an auctioneer, and TFA was the import flower auction, and we were auctioning about 1.5, 2 million flowers a day, which took about an hour 30 minutes, and it was enormous fun. It was right between the growers and the market, and starting at 6 in the morning, making very long days. But while auctioning, I could see that a 20-hectare rose farm in Kenya, that's roughly the standard size.
Yeah.
1 million stems a week, and if you're then auctioning, and you auction 1 million stems a week, and you see 2 cents difference between two neighboring farms.
Yeah.
That's where I could see quality and value, and that's, if you can sort out that gap of 2 cents a stem difference, that's 2 million cents a week, 20,000 euros a week. That's €1 million net return to farm, and I think that's what I've been challenged by. How can we sort it out? Why is the market appreciates better quality? How can we sort out the issues? And I, from the auction, I spent a few years at the university. I want to find the answers, come up with the solutions.
Yeah.
And and then I was a bit stubborn at the time, and I just, without much thinking, I started my own business, and that's been 16, 18 years ago, 2004, 17 years ago.
Yeah, time flies.
It's been a worthwhile experience, and still learning every day, and still working with our team, with our customers, which is good fun.
Okay, well, we got some people in already and saying hello. Sandra from Porto is saying hello. We've got Liz in from Dublin. We've got Alison Bradley in saying good afternoon, gentlemen. We've got Anita in. Hello from Holland, Michigan. So we got people from all over the world already in.
Great.
So you started Flower Watch 16 years ago. It was just a small place in Roelevarensveen. Even I've been there and remember, and it grew quite fast as well. Did you start with your contacts from the TFA, or how did it work out?
I had a network in Dutch flower business and in Kenyan flower business, and that was really helpful.
Yeah.
And I think also it was being there at the right moment in time. We in the early 2000s, the role of the auction for imported flowers, I think if you look at the late 90s, it's almost exclusively on the flower auction.
Yeah.
By 2005, the switch from auction to direct market was already very substantial. And certain systems, as in quality assurance, quality control, just didn't exist in direct market. So we were there on the farms, and they said, well, I like your work. Thanks for helping us improve the grading, the packaging, the cold chain. But can you check my flowers, quality of my product up on the arrival on the market? And that's sort of where we stumbled into, as in this relation of trust was really important. And then we had one grower asking us, and we made a report, and he shared it with his buyer, and buyer shared it with his customer, and then they said the other farms should do it too. So all of a sudden, from just starting without a proper ID, but understanding there was value to be delivered. Besides the training and the consulting, we had quality checks, and that's how it started rolling.
Yeah, I mean, unbelievable, and unbelievable still how much there's to improve.
Yeah, but at the same time, how much we've already achieved. I think that is where I think we shouldn't. If you look back to 25 years ago, this local village we had our own flower auction in this small village. It was local to local. Now we operate global to global. And I can remember at my time at TFA, they were importing their own flowers. And just discussing with our team, wow, isn't this business fantastic? Isn't it enormous? 2 DC-10s a day. That's 400 tons. Well, that is about half a day's work in Nairobi at this moment. And then we have Ethiopia, and then we have Ecuador, and then we have Colombia. It's been more than a 10-fold increase in the last 2 decades. And it's been from hardly any flowers into retail to almost any retailer taking flowers very seriously.
Yeah.
And if you can see what we've done with head sizes, with vase-life, but I think there's more to do. And I think that's what's driving me and my team, that we have an opportunity to work on sustainability, on extending quality, on just the online market requires an answer from the supply chain. We will have much bigger peaks and troughs in volume sold than ever before. And we need to get our supply chains ready, or maybe possibly risk losing the momentum in that development.
Yeah. What you achieved, you sent me some slides as well. It was Valentine, the red roses. Maybe it's good time to show that video.
Nice to put them on.
So what do we see here?
Well, this is a bunch of red roses that I got from a flower shop, Valentine's Day. And this is one variety from one specific farm in Kenya, one shop. And this is a 14-day fast life. And I think if our industry can achieve 14 days fast life at Valentine's Day, that's a big achievement. And you can bet that the young man being a bit nervous to buy these flowers for his girlfriend is possibly positively surprised by the impact that he's making.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think this is what we can do. 14 days fast life, red roses over Valentine. But I bought another bunch, and same shop, same variety, same supply chain, just a different day. And maybe you can show that one too.
Yeah. Oh, there they go already.
Not even 5 days. And just imagine that the young man trying to impress his girlfriend has been maybe thrown out already. And I think this is what I think in any business, but especially in flowers, it's all about impressing the people that we love, all friends and family around us. At special moments, we want to respect them and show them or love with flowers. And we can't allow ourselves to have a risk of disappointment.
No.
And hey, even the small flower shop somewhere in Milan, renting the store, employing the staff, we must make sure that they have flowers that sell, flowers that last. And even if it's Friday, cold and rainy, so that we don't sell, we should make sure that we have a bunch of flowers that is worth selling on Monday. And I believe that and I think that's also the tagline on our logo. There's bigger smiles all around. And I believe that is where we can spoil the consumer. We can give the flower shops a better margin. But even for the traders, the logistic partners in our supply chain, I think everybody can benefit from not only high quality, but consistency in quality. I think every year on the flower shows, we are able to pull off a fantastic display. But the true promise that we have to deliver is that those flowers arrive in a sellable state, giving a profit to the flower shop, giving a message of love to the consumer. I think that's what we then need to do 2 times a week, 100 times a year, and not a single day we can allow ourselves to fail. And I really hope for that we can work together and achieve this.
I think it's very underestimated, with florists as well, the amount of waste and the loss of money there. Yeah,
well, especially if you've produced the flower, shipped the flower, packed the flower, hey, this is directly going from the margins. So, and I think that's what we have, varieties that are much better than other varieties. We have farms that are much better than other farms. And that's also where we've made this investment in a test facility. We can currently test here 800 bunches at one go, or 800 potted plants.
Wow.
And I want to prove that we have better freight forwarders, that we have better airlines, that we have better varieties, better farms, and better traders. And can we create a Champions League so that the people really striving for quality can identify and can sort of find out who they should work with.
Yeah, because we've got, in the floral industry is quite a long chain. So there's a lot of things that can go wrong or can be improved or are already improved, of course.
Yeah, and that is we've made big progress already. But I think that there's one big challenge, as in, if one farm, the first one in a certain crop or product type, invests in better cooling, and if all the others are not doing it, how can this one entrepreneur make an impact? Because if the auction or if the exporter has poor cold rooms, the investment from the flower farm doesn't make sense. While there might be a florist keen to pay for that additional quality might be lost. And I think that is for local market, so from Ruhr-Waardesveen to our own auction and then to the florist in West Germany. That is where we could have very short supply chains, direct feedback, very fast. But now it's a global market. And one of my friends is a peony farm.
Yeah.
And his flowers go all around. And he has the most fantastic investment in cold rooms, but are further down the supply chain, people to making the same measurements, because I think it's like a relay. We are handing over the flowers from A to B to C to D. And finally, the florist is receiving that. But if one of us in the supply chain is messing up, the efforts of all the others are wiped out. And I think that's a big concern, but also a big opportunity, because there are people more dedicated, and there are people with the right infrastructure, the right processes. And and I think if we can facilitate communication and help to point out the best performing players, then hey, I think that's where we can support the industry moving forward.
Yeah. Yeah, and all the big company or the companies are getting bigger, so it's easier to invest in good facilities as well. And now we just need to attach them together, so we have a great cool chain. Because that's the main thing. If we talk about temperature in quality.
Oh, I would say one of my friends, Dr. Stavi from the US, he invited me to a course. I attended, and fantastic course. And he started listing the 20 most important points in post-harvest. And number 1 to number 10 was all temperature.
Okay.
And if you don't control temperature, your perfect cut stage will not matter. If you don't control temperature, your flowers will grow old fast. So let's say temperature first, and then every other measure will be a hit. But to invest in fancy post-harvest treatment, if the temperature is wrong, it will not work.
Yeah.
Nice flower foods or a nice vase or better variety, if the temperature is not good in supply chain, it will not work. Well, let's see, I think that's where we've made a lot of progress in the supply chains.
Yeah.
And I hope that therefore we sort of flatten the road ahead of us and enabling people to, with the right coaching in place, every other step will be a direct hit.
Yeah. So temperature, that's probably also, if you can control it well, that's why the sea transport is going rapidly now, but that's something we will discuss a little bit later. So yeah, temperature, that's a very important thing. You developed a way of measuring vase-life and temperature and the connection to it. It's a bit technical maybe, but I'm really impressed how you found it out and how you can show it to the people.
Let me try and give the 1 minute explanation. I think we have a cold chain, and flowers respond really well to cold temperatures, as in keeping up their quality. And but what is the difference between 3 days transport at 1 degree, 3 days transport at 10 degrees, or 3 days at 20 degrees? Because that is a service level that, if we understand the relation between the loss of quality, the loss of fast life, as soon as we have a measure, we can start making agreements. And what we have seen, let's say in this test room, we have 24 hours, of course, 20 degrees, 1,000 lux light intensity. But 24 hours at 20 degrees, if I multiply it, 24 hours times 20 degrees, we have 480 degree hours. And that's 480 degree hours is 1 day fast life, 1 day shelf life. And I think that's value for the consumer, that's value for the florist. But then a 3 day supply chain at average 10 degrees, 72 hours, is 720 degree hours. We've lost 1.5 day fast life, which is no problem if I transport my flowers from here to Western Germany and I started with a 15-day fast life. But if I'm traveling from Kenya via the Netherlands into Ukraine, the supply chain may take another 4 or 5 days from Netherlands to Ukraine. So typically from a Kenyan farm into Amsterdam, 3 days, 10 degrees, then another 3 days, 10 degrees into Ukraine. That's 1,500 degree hours. That's 3 days fast life lost, 3 days shelf life. That's value lost at the consumer. But now we can look at it as, hey, I can even have a short peak, but if I recool my flowers, maybe I get to 6 days at 4 degrees. And I have to calculate quickly, 6 days, 24 hours. That is roughly 6 times 20, 120, 144 hours at 4 degrees. That's 600 degree hours. We've gained 2 days fast life. I think then to relate to your question of sea freight, Ecuador or Colombia to Netherlands, that's 20 days at sea. That's 480 degree hours. And I've seen certain people in the US joining, so I'm sorry, I'm not up to date with the Fahrenheit, but 20 days times 24 hours is 480 hours at transport. We put those containers at 0.5. So 0.5 degrees times 240 is only 240 degree hours.
Yeah.
And that is a superior cold chain management. And it's a very small gimmick, and I learned it in my time at the university. We were looking at greenhouses and heating. And if you have wind from the north at -5, and then the weather forecast tells you in 5 days' time we have wind coming from the south at 20 degrees, then of course it's much cheaper to heat your greenhouse when the ambient temperature outside is warm than it's cold. So it's a technology that I've learned from climate computers, from greenhouses. But then I think we were possibly the first one to use that technology of temperature exposure to use for flower quality and the flower supply chains. And that is where we've made some impressive progress. And I think that's also for Kenya. We're using degree hours to measure supply chain performance. 2007, 2008, we were at 1,000. 2011, we were at 1,500 degree hours, so 3 days vase-life lost, and average temperatures of 15 degrees in the supply chain. Well, these days, out of Nairobi, you can buy a service level of less than 200 degree hours.
Wow.
And that is giving the florist, the customer, 3 to 5 days extra. And I believe that is a necessary route for us to follow. And it's all customers making the difference. The farms that have invested in new cold rooms and better trucks, people in Nairobi that have invested in make-cool equipment, either pre-coolers or vacuum coolers. And I must say that the next steps for investment are not on the African side, are not on the South American side, or maybe in the market side, maybe in the UK and Netherlands.
Okay.
But we have it measurable, and at least you can now start buying. And we've launched this in a document, as in the Flower Watch quality standard for global flower supply chains.
Yeah.
For the grower, the freight forwarder, the airline, and the exporters. We have developed a serious list of KPIs, and one by one we are training and implementing. So on the farm side, we have a company like Nini in Kenya being our customer. Freight forwarders, we're working with Good Enough on Total Touch in Nairobi.
Yeah.
And we're working with Holex as an exporter from the Netherlands to the US. We're working with Air France KLM Cargo. And slowly, steadily, we are widening our impact. And let's say the number of farms working with the method is much bigger. The farms ticking each and everything. I think that's where we've just launched some labels. And we look forward to actively communicate this to the market.
I mean, these are huge steps forward, and the way you made it measurable helps, of course, as well, making decisions for those companies as well, and saying, okay, we need to move forward because it will save us 2, 3, 5, or even more days of vase-life in the end for the consumer.
And that's it's vase-life. It's also offering opportunities for storage. So let's say traditionally, certain cold rooms at trading companies might be around 7 degrees. That's what the unions have agreed. Everybody working in a cold room under 7 gets 20% extra top up on the salary. So it's really interesting. Put your cold room at 7. It's better for your staff. It's better for your salary costs. But for the flowers, we might benefit from a 0.5 degree cold room, close to freezing. And hey, if you don't sell the flowers today, let's put them in a dedicated storage area, almost like your treasure chamber.
Yeah.
And I believe that a florist should have a treasure chamber like that. I believe that a trading company in an auction and anyone in the market should have a treasure chamber like that. We should separate the trading, the order picking from the storage. And we are close. We're getting better and better at it. And we see it coming up. Sometimes people gambling, doing it very rough. But I would say in a very professional setup, working with the best possible partners, starting with an excellent product, I believe that 5, 10, 15 days storage and maybe even more is possible.
Yeah. So actually, as a florist, you should have 2 coolers or maybe even more, but just your display cooler, if you have a display cooler, show what's there. But everything, if you have 10 bunches of roses, put 5 on display and put 5 in your 0.5 degree cooler.
Yes, yeah. And we just worked let's say I had trouble finding such a cooler myself, but we just, it's on the other side of the wall here. It's a small cooler. We can run it at 0.1 and we can put 2 auction trolleys in it. And it's just I think that is where you're more flexible with the ordering. You can probably order bigger volumes because you're not losing the quality and the value of the product over 3 days.
Yeah.
It's separate cooler where you just once a day, you walk in, take out what you need, and then close it. Lights off, door closed. It's a treasure chamber. Nobody is allowed in but the manager of the store.
That's a very, very interesting one. Anita Hall-Dockman is saying the science behind cooling, shipping, and shelf life and quality of flowers is fascinating. She said this problem never occurred to me. But Anita, you can see how much there is still to gain, and how such a science is behind it. I mean, it's great. I forgot actually to show you the graphic about what we just talked about. I will quickly show it.
Yeah.
So here we can see it in a graphic, and you see the difference in vase life.
Yeah, just trying to explain this quickly. We shoot 2 graphs, and the black line is the temperature, and you should look at the left for the temperatures. And on the right side, we see the remaining vase life. So 48 hours of transport at average 15 to 20 degrees. You can immediately see we lose 20-30% of the potential vase life.
Wow.
Then the second graph is telling the other part of the story. We can see the black line being between 0 and 2 degrees. And over 72 hours, we lose maximum 5% of the vase life. And I think this is just helping us to understand and also making it clear what is the value of a cold room? What is the value of having a reefer truck?
Yeah.
And I think it's these small decisions that we can now enable people to take the right decisions and help them spend their money smartly on improving quality and cold chain.
Yeah. Because there are still a lot of people in the flower industry that say, okay, these flowers has to be, that's a minimum of 5 degrees, that's a minimum of 4 degrees, maybe tulips 2 degrees.
Yeah. Ooh, there's an awful lot of publications that are quite confusing. Although with some effort, it's also quite easy to find the right references from university, based on university research. And I think that is where, let's say, if you have a very old traditional cooler, before you do 0.5, first check the technician if they actually can handle it. Because not all coolers are designed for 0.5. It's a small technical thing that you have to turn around or maybe spend a bit of money on. But we have to be very careful. So someone owning such a poor cold room might be much better off to give this as an advice to the other florists.
Yeah.
But let's say if you have your general cold room where you receive a make cool and then your separate treasure chamber where you only put in cold stuff, and this is very low temperatures, very smooth airflow. We have to be careful because if you have this old style equipment, you're a bit risky looking for those temperatures.
Yeah.
But I think that is also for us putting this in our publications, in our quality standards. This is the right temperature, but be aware for A, B, C. And I think this is what you need to check. These are the checks and balances that you need to put in place.
Yeah, and making it visible also with temperatures. You got some cool gadgets as well.
I really love this trying to visualize cold chain. I think the picture on the right is taken at our customer Hulst, and it shows you flowers ready to dispatch. And the box, the trolleys, the boxes on the left, the bright red, this is coming from production, coming from packing. And if you're careless, you might just put it on a plane and ship it to New York, ship it to Miami. But Hulst has spent an enormous amount of money, time, and effort in upgrading their cold rooms. They have fantastic make-cool facilities. And on the right, you can see the flowers reduced from 12 degrees to 1 degree. and then they leave for the US. And this is magnificent. This is highly valuable for the florists. We improve consistency of the quality. And this is where people are putting the money where the talking is.
Yeah.
Well, I think there's also one picture that tells more than 1,000 words. This is, we walk around your facility with a heat camera. We on the farm, at the airport. There's some really nice stuff. We've done the same. So this is just a few boxes. We've done the same thing with a plane load or a truck load full of flowers. And this is, I love to make it. I've been trained as a scientist, grown up in flower industry. I love to be at that edge between day-to-day practice and research and try to translate the questions and the information both ways.
Yeah, but there are so many factors that can go wrong or can influence the vase life of flowers. You need to dig into the material and to find out what's wrong, because you also send me some videos.
They will be nice to share.
Yeah, so I will start showing them, and maybe you can explain a bit what we can see here.
Yeah, this is 2 bunches of roses, and maybe you can run it twice, John.
Yeah.
This is 2 bunches of roses, and we took them out of the supply chain into our testing, into our lab for testing, and then the flowers on the left were coming from a clean bucket and put on the vase. And the other flowers were the farm had taken the water not from the tap or from the well. They took the water from the lake, from the river.
Okay.
There's bacteria in it, and those bacteria are, when the flowers are drinking, the bacteria are taken up into the stem. They start multiplying, and they block the flow of water. So just something simple as the water source, just something simple as the bucket washing, this has an enormous effect. So this is the same farm, the same variety. Just an issue with filling the buckets can create a disaster or something very promising.
Unbelievable.
It's something as in bucket washing, and I think this is also on the farm, at the market, on the auction, we should have 100%. So a typical flower farm in Kenya circulates about 1,500 buckets a day around the farm. I think that all 1,500 buckets should be that clean that people dare to drink from that bucket.
Yeah.
If it's not enough for your own tummy, then it's not good enough for your flowers. And this is where, hey, just go around the market and just take your finger and run it over the bottom of the bucket. If it leaves a mark, don't buy those flowers.
Yeah. It's a huge difference. I mean, unbelievable. And that's just one of the things, because we've got more examples.
Yeah. This is an example from the supply chain. So the flowers on the left have been transported 3 days at 2. So 3 days at 2 degrees, that's 144 degree hours. The other flowers have been transported 3 days at 10, so 720 degree hours. And on the left, we can see the flowers easily passing the 7 days. On the right, this is where already at day 6 or day 7, the flowers are doubtful.
Yeah.
And I think just as an industry, if we can supply the flowers on the left today, we have a duty, we have an obligation to make sure it's not the flowers on the right.
Yeah, for sure. It's unbelievable how much difference just 8 degrees can make.
Yeah, and I think this is where we have to be really aware that for us, our body temperature is kept at 7 degrees or 37 degrees. And if it's warm or cold outside, our watch or calendar are ticking as always as fast. But for flowers, the calendar starts ticking faster if temperatures go up. And it's not a difference of only 8 degrees. The difference between 2 and 10 is not 8 degrees difference, it's 5 times higher. The flowers get old 5 times faster.
Yeah.
And that's the big multiplier. The difference between 2 and 10 is not 8, it's 500%.
Yeah, that's what we can see, the 500%. We got another one.
Yeah. This is a variety. we've been testing it over and over, and we've always had this funny rounding of the petals. This sort of, it doesn't open really nice.
Yeah.
And I think this is where, for carnations and lilies, we know that they're ethylene sensitive and they require a treatment. For the roses, somehow 25, 30 years ago in the researches, they had only 3 varieties, and Sonia, First Red, Aalsmeer Gold, and those varieties were never ethylene sensitive. So it was concluded roses are not ethylene sensitive. But we can see that about 1/3 of the rose varieties benefits extremely, adding 4 to 6 days vase-life.
Yeah.
Similar treatment to carnations.
Okay.
And again, this is ethylene. Ethylene is fruits. This is a story about fruits, about apples and bananas. And apples produce a tiny little bit of ethylene, and bananas are considered ethylene bombs. And then avocados, or new fruit in the same supply chain, 100 times worse than bananas. So avocado flowers in the same room, forget about your flowers. But also a flower auction with trucks driving on the inside. The exhaust fumes are full with ethylene. And this is where we must require the right standards and the right service level.
Yeah. I mean, that's such things that, like Anita was saying previously, that you don't think about. Just a car driving by or a truck that's loading up the flowers can make such a huge difference.
Yeah, and I love to see Kenya moving forward. I've lived and worked there for the last 7 years. Avocado business is growing up, and a lot of the flower farms, let's say the flat land is used for greenhouses, the slopes are now filled up with avocados. But then comes the first day, they proudly harvest their first avocados. Gee, I just hope and pray that they're not putting them in the same truck with their flowers.
Yeah.
It will be the end of your flower farm.
I remember working for a carnation farm in Portugal for a couple of months for my study. And then the truck came in as well, and it was half filled with watermelons. So we also sent him away. He was still figuring out why we sent him away, but we had to find other transport.
No, I think, and that is where, let's say, I'm confident that all logistic partners are looking forward to give us the right service level. But I think the important thing is that we sit down, recognize what's valuable, what needs to be done, what the risks are there, and then start taking decisions.
Yeah.
And just what we see in Netherlands trading, there is apples coming from New Zealand in the coming weeks, and they are looking for cold store space. And there is someone whose volumes are reducing by late May, early June. Flower business, but never ever rent out your cold rooms to the New Zealand apples. I think it's all, the devil is in the details, and I think that is where we have to be aware. We need to sit down, we need to talk, and this is where at Flower Watch I want to be part of this positive development and finding a way forward.
Oh, sorry, I didn't hear the last part. Can you repeat the last part for me? Because
I think that this is where I think all logistic partners or airlines or freight forwarders or trucking companies, I'm sure they are ready to give us the right service level. But I think this is also making known as an industry what are the service levels that we require. How good should they be? And this should be, this is the temperature, no fruits, this is the time, this is your docks. We can't consolidate on a dock and load the truck warm. We must load the truck cold because the truck is a transport machine, never a big cool machine. But we have to sit down with trucking companies and the exporters in the Netherlands. Every load, it should be cold.
Yeah, I mean, it's. I think there's still a lot of things unknown. It's just in the truck for half an hour, or it's just there, but it's a living product, flower, so it warms itself up as well.
Yeah, it's a living, breathing product, and if I have one of my kids on my lap, they're warm because they are alive.
Yeah.
And the flowers, they're also alive. They breathe, they respirate, and they produce a tiny amount of heat. But put a full aircraft load together, a full truckload together. If you don't cool it, this heat goes up, and if the temperatures go up, it goes even faster. And this is where we can have this heating. Sometimes as a florist, receiving boxes, you might put your hand in between, and it's slightly warm. Well, that's the heating that you feel. That's the almost a composting effect that you feel. It's the rejects from the farm or the export flowers on their way to the market. Throw them on a big heap and they will behave the same. Respirate until it gets hot and then you die. And that's what we should make sure it happens on the compost heap, and we should stay as far as possible from that happening on the
in the chain. Yeah. Talking about the chain and moving forward from the growers to the shippers and the freight forwarders, I think that there's something that can be achieved there as well, because I've seen so many different kind of boxes, and we had Willy Armelini in one of our shows, who was responsible for Armelini Logistics a while ago, and he was also telling there are so many different boxes, so to put them on one pallet, it's almost impossible, and a loss of space as well.
Yeah, it's like a Swiss cheese. There's holes everywhere in these aircraft pallets and these truckloads with flowers. And hey, there might be people making money out of that holes that we see. But I would be, but I think this is also the industry. We've grown big in 2 decades. Let's say from the local for local to the global for global market. The volumes have grown, businesses have grown. We've done enormous achievements, as in growing flowers in Colombia and mixing the same flowers with bouquet ingredients coming from Kenya or Ethiopia, and put them in a flower shop in Milan or in somewhere in Ontario, Canada. Well, I think that this is what we now need to tidy up our logistic infrastructure, the cold rooms, but also the packaging. The example you give, I'm confident if you go around Bogota Airport, as I did recently, we have maybe 300 different box dimensions, and then they are packed and overpacked and underpacked. In Kenya, we are very fortunate. We have something that is called a standard box. But when I asked my team at the airport to start measuring, they found 52 different sizes of the standard box. And this box, we have an airline pallet, we have an auction trolley, a Danish trolley, a block pallet, a Euro pallet. The box design that we have, it doesn't fit anywhere. If you purposely want to buy the worst box possible, this is it. This is where we end. That's where we are now. And it's a waste. Every day we waste aircraft space, we waste space in trucks. And this is, from the opportunity side, this is opportunities to reduce carbon footprint.
Yeah.
And I think on the left, you can, this is a picture inside the aircraft. And on the left, we see one aircraft pallet, and that's roughly 3 meters by long, 220 wide, and 3 meters high. That's the main deck capacity of a cargo flight. And it has 2,700 kilos. And if you would be able to zoom in, there's holes and gaps everywhere. And there is, and that's we could have put flowers there for exactly the same fuel burn, exactly the same carbon footprint. We could have put more flowers on there. But even funnier, this is currently, we work at 2,700, 2,800 kilos on a skid. That's a big weight, that's what you should achieve when packing. But my early days, it was 3,200 kilos on the pallet. Well, on the left, you see our improved system. We have developed a skid, and this has been supported by the Holland Flower Alliance and by Sailpack. And Holland Flower Alliance is Amsterdam Airport, Flora Holland, and Air France KLM Cargo. And we've designed a skid that fits the trucks in Europe, that fits the trucks in the US. It fits the aircraft pallet. It fits the auction trolley. So it fits everywhere. And it has 7 centimeters wider space all around.
Yeah.
And all around, and we get easily 400-500 kilos extra flowers on there. And because the boxes are strong, normally our boxes are weak and we put protective material around the flowers. The boxes are strong, they're not longer collapsing. So is there still a need to put a protective material around it? So 300 boxes with a kilo of each of these cardboard wrappers, we call them SFK.
Yeah.
We've eliminated the SFKs. So there's 300 kilos of packaging material less. We can put more flowers in the box. We buy less paper, we waste less paper, and we fly less packaging material and more flowers in the same flight. An enormous opportunity to improve, to reduce the carbon footprint as an industry.
Yeah, and let's not forget at the moment prices of air freight after COVID or still with COVID went up enormously. So yeah, that's the first part where you can get the money.
Yeah, no, I think that this is where air freight was abundantly available. And a few years ago, with the financial crisis, many new airlines came into Nairobi, into Ethiopia. And these airlines had planes that were half full anyway. So why be concerned about efficient packaging if the flight is half full?
Yeah.
But today, each and every flight is 100% full. So we can't waste any space. Air freight became scarce, it became expensive overnight. So this is the right time to improve. And I think this is the right time for, I can see people joining from the Azores and from Peru. I think we can get more flowers on the same pallet. We can have more flowers in the same aircraft. This will reduce your cost for export. This will make your flowers more competitive.
Yeah.
Well, let's say another big opportunity, and I think with all work, setting quality standards, doing the audits, setting a brand or flowers approved label. If we tick all the boxes quality-wise, we're ready for this new transport method. If we tick all the quality KPIs, we're ready for sea freight.
Yeah, and how many companies are doing now or having the flower awards approved?
We just passed by the number of 10, but let's say we have a whole group of farms that we work with on and off, and step by step now achieving our label.
Yeah.
The nicest thing is not the number of farms. We have a few complete supply chains ready.
Okay.
And we have airlines doing the right service level, less than 500 degree hours from Bogota to Miami. We have airlines from Nairobi, Air France KLM Cargo, giving the right service level. We have exporters like Rolex. This is their commitment. We'll provide the supply chain in less than 500 degree hours. It will give you extra vase-life. It will give you extra shelf life. We don't sell the flowers today, Friday, because it's raining. You can just bet that you can save them, sell them next week.
Yeah, I mean it's wow. I mean it's a business with margins that are quite small.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if you see what you were talking about, 20%, and what's the money that's lying around, or you just can pick it up by looking at all the processes, not only at your own farm, but until the florist. I mean, there's so much to win.
Yeah, and I hope that that we can help supply chains be successful together.
Yeah.
And as in, this is the worst thing that can happen. You've been doing business 5 years in a row. You've grown 20% on your farm, but you didn't expand your cold rooms. All of a sudden, from being a really good 10-hectare farm, you might be a terrible 14-hectare farm because the volumes are too big. All of the year you will cope, but not over Valentine.
Yeah.
So let's put those KPIs on the table. Let's see what our performance is. And as a new farm, if you can't get the temperatures, then ask the people in the airport to sort you out. And if you pay someone in the Netherlands to do the consolidation or the trucking or the logistics, demand them to make all the flowers before you put them on the truck to the east. Make them cool before you put them on the flight towards the US.
Yeah.
And I think that is the make cool, keep cool, and if necessary, recool. And that means that a new variety with better vase-life, it will happen. Better treatment on the farm, it will pay off. Well, let's say we're just trying to get people around the table, take the right decisions.
Yeah.
And I think the nice thing is, while working for better quality and vase-life, we land savings in the supply chain.
Yeah, I mean that's wonderful. In the end, like you said, or like even the slogan is, you want people to have the smile and to get the flowers and enjoy them for a long period as well. And I'm convinced that if you buy something, it doesn't matter of the price, but if it doesn't expect your meet your expectations, you will be disappointed. Even when it's very cheap bunch of flowers, you will be disappointed.
Yeah. And I think that is where all competition is not roses versus tulips versus chrysanthemums. It's not company A, company B. All competition is the bottle of wine.
Yeah.
And with flowers, it can happen. Ooh, the flowers are not good. But with a bottle of wine, you will never ever be disappointed. It will be good. The bar of chocolate, it will be good. And we have something much better, much nicer than bottles of wine and bars of chocolate. But we have a responsibility that we need to take serious.
Yeah. See that Willy Ormolini, we talked about him just a couple of minutes ago, is joining. Hello, Willy. Yeah, with the transport or the air freight limited now and probably for the next, I don't know how many years, if you see the airlines are saying we will go back to normal, if there is any normal, just within a couple of years.
Yeah, I think that is where, let's say, air freight, sea freight. I don't think one will replace the other. I think it will be a healthy addition to our logistic mix.
Yeah.
And yeah, air freight got scarce. Air freight got expensive. But even sea freight will technically work. There's a lot of challenges getting used to sea freight as an industry. Because a truck delays with a few hours, a flight delays with 1 day, and the ship delays with 1 week.
Yeah.
So that is some serious issues that we have there. But I think that's also nice as a payoff. If we work out on quality, if we work out on cold chain, our flowers are not as perishable. We've grown up, we've built our experience in an industry where quality is lost and the flowers are unsellable after 3 to 5 days. But if we control the temperatures, and if we have the right varieties and cut stages and treatments, all flowers are not as perishable. So 4 weeks at sea also means 2 weeks at the trading company or 1 week at the florist.
Yeah.
Then that 1 week will be valuable for people. And I think that is what we can only do is when everything is right. So botrytis flowers in a really good cold chain, no results. Ethylene treatment, it has a cost, but in a poor cold chain, it will not pay off. And I think that's sort of what has possibly held us back so long, as in we've grown and new varieties, new products, new markets, global for global. But it's an enormous challenge to have everything right. And one of the things maybe that sea freight might be spectacularly good at is it's the farm, it's the box which we call a reefer, and it's the customer.
Yeah.
And if you can do 10 tons in one go, 400,000 flowers. But we've eliminated other people. Air freight might have 35 to 50 different links: the trucking company, the scanning, the palletizing, the building, the air freight, the airline, the clearing, the customs. All those people don't own your flowers. If something goes wrong, it's the farm.
Yep.
It's the farm or the florist paying for those damages. And I think that is where sea freight will be a big challenge. Technically possible, a lot of work still to do. But it's telling me that these flowers are not perishable and that's already working towards this excellence in quality. We get ready for better packaging, for storage, for sea freight. And it might be happening. Colombia seems to ship about 2,000 reefers a year, which is about 8% of their export volumes. Ethiopia, not yet. Kenya is in the early stages. But yeah, I hope it will grow because it's also helping to reduce our carbon footprint. And there will, short term, the next 10, 20 years, there will always be value in air freight. But let's say if we have the base load of all flowers shipped by sea, and if it's 10% or 15%, it's going to help to reduce our carbon footprint, and that's also something that we need to achieve to be competitive. We've just learned first supermarkets in Switzerland are buying carbon credits to offset footprint for the products flown in. So that's a cost. Products from far away are becoming more costly because of this carbon credit scheme.
Yeah.
Hey, we need to take this serious, and the quality control is there, the packaging are there, the cold chains are there, and let's see how we can add this to the logistic mix.
Yeah, and let's face it, if you're the owner of the product, if you're the grower, and you're about to pack the container, you're taking care of it. But if somebody's working and just handling boxes, and they don't know if there's flowers inside, televisions or whatever, they don't handle it with the right care as flowers should have.
Yeah. Well, and that is and flowers lose their quality and they lose their value in their transport. And I think there's plenty of reasons to minimize that. Plenty of ways to minimize that loss of value. So let's see that we get it done.
Yeah. Well, Willie is already saying that he thinks there are more flowers traveling already by sea than we are aware. I think it's already been done for decades actually. We had Nick Oudendijk in the Flower Circus talks. I think 2 months ago. He was one of the first ones to try it out.
Yeah. It's been 10, 12 years in existence. And there's more and more of them. Capiro recently advertised on their LinkedIn page 7,000 containers already shipped. That's an industry leader. And now with such news, how can we step by step have a few more farms, a few more products, a few more markets and routes added to that?
Yeah. The only thing is you have a 40-foot container, so you have an enormous amount of flowers in one go. I think that's the challenge. So it will exclude some markets as well.
Yeah, or possibly open some new markets. Let's say for Kenya to South Africa, there were 6 flights a day. So air freight was there, so the market was there. Currently, there's only 2 flights a day. That's a 60-70% reduction in air freight. What if we take a 20-foot reefer with 4 tons of flowers and ship it from Nairobi via Mombasa into Durban? It might just happen.
Yeah.
The markets in the Middle East from Kenya, or maybe from Colombia and Ecuador into LA or Miami. Let's see how these routes will work out. But let's say 30 years ago, air freight was really new for flower business. We made it work, and companies and airlines got big together with the flower industry. And this will take some time for sea freight.
Yeah, but like you said, for sure it will be there, and then it will happen. And like you explained to us with the degree hours, it's possible as well. And even sometimes maybe more than not sometimes, the quality is better as well because it's so controlled. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, no, I think that there's a fair chance that quality after sea freight will be as good as and possibly better than air freight.
Yeah.
And that is, let's say, the worst case air freight. You might be on a flight, you did a good job cooling what someone else has put in the last minute order, delivered to the airport at 15 degrees, 2 hours before departure of the flight. That is, those flowers are heating up and they're affecting your flowers. It's completely out of your control. But that flight might delay, it might divert. There's some really good airports in Europe, there's some very poor airports in Europe. And I believe also in Miami, there's some really good outlets and there's some very good outlets. And with the degree hours, we can measure the performance and we can put a stamp on it.
Yeah.
And that is where you start asking as a florist, what are the degree hours of my supply chain?
Yeah. Oh, there's such a big industry between the growers and the wholesalers, exporters, and I'm actually almost shocked by what still is possible and what you already achieved, of course. But you're also making steps again. You just hired somebody, a new person.
Yeah. We're just trying to see. let's say we've been very much focused on the work that we love, boots on the ground, in a pack house, working with the team to improve. We've been on airports in Asia, in Africa, in South America, in North America. Every time we've been improving all around. But all of a sudden we have arrived at the point where we can put the pieces of the puzzle together. And that I believe every continent, every route, every supply chain now has the opportunity for a less than 500 degree hour supply chain. And so we can now start looking at landing the value. And I believe that is where I'm really keen to have our team being expanded with people looking for new alternatives. And that's as a part of the crisis. There's good people in the market who are looking for opportunities. And I'm keen to figure out how we can roll out or measure degree hours over multiple supply chains and make the impact. I think online trading platforms, you can have the best farm and the best variety, the best packaging method. But if the truck is warm, those flowers will arrive in a very poor state. So we must have 3 trucking companies that you can book on that platform. And one has a less than 500 degree hour and the other one guarantees a 200 degree hour supply chain. And that's what you as a buyer should be able to demand. Because let's say if things go wrong, you as the florist, you as the retailer will be paying for the damages.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a small anecdote about Oudendijk as well, and you were checking the sea freight there from Ecuador, and there were almost every time there were 4 boxes in that container that weren't good.
Yeah.
And it was flour was flying over to Ecuador and checking, and at the farm nothing was wrong until they found out there were 4 boxes on top of the truck because it didn't fit in the truck anymore.
Yeah. Oh, it was, no way. After all the hard work that we put in, and then even it was just being there at the dock to physically see what's happening. They had to supply so many boxes, and due to the size, they had the boxes in the back of the hold, and then on top of the cabin where the driver was, there were 4 boxes with straps tied on the roof. Hey, we figured it out. I think that's still what I love to be this almost be a supply chain detective.
Yeah.
But I really like to go from troubleshooting to building supply chains and building the trust and making businesses successful.
Yeah, I mean, and it helped your studies, of course, but also the work at TFA and all those things. Now combined in doing something you really love and helping the industry forward in a really good way. So thank you very much for that.
Thank you. Yeah. It's been fun, and I hope that we can continue doing this and just land that impact and reduce this carbon footprint and keep our industry healthy, competitive, and bring smiles.
Yeah, that's that's actually why I'm in the floral business. Just if you give away a bouquet to a person and see the smile even in the eyes glowing, I mean, that's why we do it.
I have this friend running a trading company, and I have 3 kids, 7, 9, and 11. And this Friday, in about an hour time, they will load up 3 buckets on their little cart and start pushing it around the street and selling flowers. I think that's what I'm keen to pass that on to the next generation. Yeah,
I mean that's great. So Jeroen, thank you very much for all your explanations. I mean, I'm still flabbergasted with some of the information you gave us, and which can help us forward as well. I mean, from grower breeders as well to the florist with the extra cold store, which is for me a great tip. I mean, I didn't know that, but that's a great solution. And all the other things you told me. So for the people joining in later, I would recommend to watch it again or listen it again as a podcast, because this was an hour of a lot of information which will help you forward in your flower business.
Yeah, no, thank you for the opportunity. It's been very worthwhile.
Yeah, thank you for joining. I hope to see you soon in real life again.
Yeah, somewhere on the flower show.
Yeah, okay. Thank you very much again, Jeroen, and thank you everybody